name is Tim. I'm a Wim Hof method instructor level 3, and I connect with a lot of people regarding the breathing technique of the Wim Hof method, and I get a lot of reactions, and that's funny, that especially from people that are in yoga, that say like, but you know, like I'm going into my fight or flight, and that's bad. Basically, that is like, it's very, you know, simplistic what I'm saying now, but I would like to spend like this video on fight or flight, rest and digest, also called sympathetic, parasympathetic, and how that actually works with Wim Hof breathing, to be specific. Now, the Wim Hof breathing technique consists of 30-40 times breathing faster, like venting, like this. This means you're adding oxygen to your system, to your body. And yes, in this period, you're going into your fight or flight. But, and this is important, it is temporarily. So, it is not a bad thing. You know, then after the 30-40 times breathing, you breathe out and hold your breath. You hold your breath for as long as possible. This is called the retention period. And in this period, you like drop into your rest and digest, or into your parasympathetic nerve system. Yeah, so, and then you hold your breath as long as possible, and then you breathe in and hold it for 10 seconds. And that is called one round of Wim Hof breathing. Now, concerning fight or flight, rest and digest, or sympathetic, parasympathetic, I have a few things to say. First of all, we should, you know, when we are in balance, we have like 50% sympathetic, 50% parasympathetic. Yeah, the sympathetic nerve system is like you could say like when we were cavemen, outside of the cave, yeah, outside of the cave, we had to be sharp. Our inner world, like our digestive system, you know, if you're you know, running for a lion, for example, this is not so important. So this is going to shut down a little bit. So in this way, if you breathe fast and you go into your sympathetic, into your fight or flight, you can suppress like your immune response and even get over fever, for example, with a few rounds of breathing. While parasympathetic is more like inside the cave. Yeah, outside the cave we have to be on. This is like, you could say, stress or being on, you know, active. While rest and digest, parasympathetic, inside the cave is where we can lay down and we don't have to do so much. We don't have to be sharp. You know, so you want a balance of 50-50 in between the parasympathetic and the sympathetic. Now, how do you know that you're out of balance? On average, we have too much stress in our Western world, so we're too sympathetic, you know, and you notice this by not being able to sleep, being overstressed, and I know, you can feel this in yourself. But we can also be too parasympathetic, and this is, for example, when you're procrastinating, or when you have so many plans but nothing comes out of your hands. Yeah, and you can balance this out, the sympathetic, parasympathetic, by a simple thing like Wim Hof method breathing. And what you do with the Wim Hof method breathing, you go into your sympathetic. Yeah, so what happens there? Your blood vessels are contracting, and there's more oxygen in your body. There's adrenaline released, but note that this is temporarily, so you have like a peak in adrenaline, and then it drops again. So while breathing faster, you peak in your adrenaline, and then when you breathe out and hold your breath, it drops again. And if you adrenaline in this sense is not a bad thing. You know, if it would stay high, you know, you would have continuously more adrenaline and cortisol and you would burn out. But if it is a peak and it drops after that, it actually triggers your parasympathetic nerve system. Yeah, so this is amazing about this breathing technique. And you know, like Wim found this out by trial and error, and there is scientific research about what this breathing technique actually does to the inner world, basically. But it's very, very intelligent because it uses both breathing faster and breathing out and holding your breath, both sympathetic and parasympathetic. Now, I don't want you to believe me, so how could you measure this? Very simply. If you would measure your breathing frequency, which is you're recording, you're timing 1 minute on your phone, and you just close your eyes and you slow down your breathing as much as you can without holding your breath and without, becoming out of breath. Don't try too hard, but try to slow down your breath as much as you can. Then if you do 4 rounds of breathing, which you can find in one of my videos, for example, 4 rounds of Wim Hof method breathing, and then afterwards measure again how slow you can breathe, you will notice, on average, and I've trained like more than 5,000 people already with this breathing technique, on average, your breathing frequency will be divided by 2.5, which means like if you breathe 10 times beforehand, you will breathe 4 times afterwards. If you breathe 5 times, it will be 2 times, and if you breathe 3 times, it will be 1 time, on average. So this way you can measure for yourself and to what extent this breathing technique actually helps you go more into your parasympathetic. But how do we do that? By first going into our sympathetic by breathing faster, adding more oxygen, and then holding our breath on the breath out, where you go more into your parasympathetic. But the result is that you go more into your parasympathetic, your rest and digest, or also called the meditative state. To summarize, fight or flight, sympathetic is not bad. It's just if you have too much of it, you become stressed. You can use this breathing technique by either getting a little bit more adrenaline. So what happens if you peak in your adrenaline, then it returns to base level. So if you're like really slow, procrastinating, your adrenaline level is too low. You breathe and it peaks and it goes to base level, which could be a little bit higher, so you get energy from it. Well, other people, more like myself, who are like, when I was a kid, I was like really active, so my adrenaline level is on average higher than average than other people. So what happens with me is the adrenaline, this is base level, this is my adrenaline level. The adrenaline level peaks, I hold my breath, it drops and it drops to base level, so lower than my normal level. Yeah, so this is called the reset hypothesis. We don't have official scientific research for this yet. For all the other stuff that I just said is just plain physiology. This is what happens in your body. Proven fact. If you have a question about this, please let me know. I actually made this video because people were having questions about this. So leave a comment if you want to know more about this, and I could make another video. So thanks for your time. I hope this helped, and see you another time. Bye bye.